So in this video, we'll be going through the order of operations, also known as BIDMAS or BODMAS. Now there will be a copy of some notes and a worksheet in the description below for you to practice once you have finished watching this video. So in many different languages, there is a particular order in which we read or say things. So for example, in English, we read from left to right. In Urdu, Arabic or Aramaic, or in Hebrew, they read from right to left. And in Japanese, they read down. So in English, when we describe an object, the descriptive word comes before the object. So for example, if you were talking about the blue car, then blue would come in front of the car. However, in French, it would be the voiture bleue, which translates back into English to read that the car blue. So here in French, they have the descriptive word after the actual object. And these are just examples of the fact that in some cases, coming from an English perspective, that we don't just do things from left to right. Now in maths, we too have a set of rules and a structure to which we calculate things. So the structure we use is following BIDMAS or BODMAS as it's sometimes known as. Now the B, the I, the D, the M, the A, the S are all reference to the types of operators that you can use in mathematical calculations. And this is the order in which you need to complete things. So for example, if you see brackets, that always takes precedence. So you always do whatever's in the brackets first. If you see powers, you work them out first. If you see division, multiplying, you work them out. And then if you see adding and subtracting, you tend to do that bit last. So it is important that you use this as a checklist when you're working through these things, and whatever numbers are captured between these particular order of operators, then that's what you need to do in that particular order. So as an example, let's have a look at calculating this. So reading this out, we've got 4 plus 5 times 3. Now, what we need to do is first of all think about BIDMAS. So the first thing we see is, do we have any brackets? No. Do we have any powers? No. Do we see any division? No. Do we see any multiplying? Yes. So we need to have a look at the two numbers that are on either side of the multiplication symbol, and we need to do that bit first. So here we've got 5 times 3, which is 15, and then I've got 4 plus 15, and I go back to my list. Do I see any adding? Yes. So I've then got to do the adding of 4 plus 15, which gives me an answer of 19, and there is my final answer. So then if I then move down to another example, so again here, and again I use my checklist of BIDMAS. So again I go through, do I see the brackets? Yes. So I have a look at what's in the brackets and I do that bit first. So here I've got 8 plus 3, which is 11, and then I've got 5 squared plus 2 times 11. So I go back to my checklist, do I see any powers? Yes. I've got 5 squared. So I simplify that and I get 25 plus 2 times 11. And then go back to my list. Do I see division? No. Do I see any multiplying? Yes. So I go back and I do the multiplying bit next. So I've got 2 times 11, which is 22. And so I've got 25 plus 22. Go back to my checklist. Do I see the adding? Yes. So I've got to add these two numbers now, which gives me 47. And there is my final answer. So then moving on to another example. So again, just have my checklist of BIDMAS. So here, do I see any brackets? No. Do I see any powers? Yes. So I work that out. So 3 squared is 9. So I've got 6 plus 4 divided by 2 plus 9. Have I got any division? Yes. So I look at the two numbers being divided. So here I've got 4 divided by 2, which is 2. And then I've got nothing but adding left. So I do 6 plus 2, which is 8, plus 9, which is 17. And there is my final answer. And then looking at this next example, so again, I've got BIDMAS. Now here you can see that we haven't got a sort of symbol that's in between the 3 and this bracket. So when we don't have a symbol, that basically means that it's being multiplied. And again, this tends to be more in algebra. So rewriting this, I've got 4 plus 3 times 10 minus 8 in brackets squared minus 10. So again, going through my checklist, have I got any brackets? Yes. So let's work out the bracket first. So I've got 4 plus 3 times, and then it'll be 10 take away 8, which is 2 squared minus 10. I then see, well, have I got any powers? Well, yes, I've got the 2. So I do this bit next. So here I've got 4 plus 3 times 4 minus 10. So again, go back to my checklist. I don't have any division. Have I got any multiplying? Yes. So I look at the two numbers being multiplied. So I've got 4 plus, and then 3 times 4 is 12, take away 10. And then I've got any adding, yes. So I look at the adding next, which I'm going to do it here. So I've got 4 plus 12, which is 16, minus 10, which then gives me a final answer of 6. And now moving on to this question here. So when we have a fraction, what we want to do is treat this as two separate questions. So this basically implies, as we've got a fraction, basically means division. And so what we want to do is we want to use BIDMAS before we actually divide both sides. We want to treat the top as one question and the bottom as one question. So looking at the top question, I've got 4 squared times 2 minus 5. So again, I'm going to use BIDMAS and I do the powers first. So here I've got 16 times 2 minus 5. And then 16 times 2 is 32. Take away 5 gives me 27. And then working with the denominator, here we've got 11 minus 2 cubed. So again, I'm going to do the power first. So that's 11 minus 8, which gives me 3. So combining the two questions together, I've got 27 over 3. And then I can write down my final answer, which gives me a final answer of 9. Now, in terms of operation facts, there's a couple of things that you need to be aware of. Now, if we just have a look at these true or false things. So is 2 plus 6 the same as 6 plus 2? And the answer to that is it is true. Now, the order in which you add has no impact to your answer. So it doesn't really matter what order you do your adding, you'll still end up with the same answer. However, does that apply when you're subtracting? So is 10 take away 8 the same as 8 take away 10? And that answer there is false. So here the order in which you subtract does impact your final answer. So it is really important that whenever you are looking at subtraction, that you're always doing the first number take away subtracted by the second number, because the order will impact your final answer. Now then, next we move on to is multiplying. So is 5 times 2 the same as 2 times 5? And that answer there is true. So again, the order in which you multiply does not impact your final answer. And then finally, when it comes to dividing, so again, let's just get a different color here. Let's go green. So here, is 10 divided by 2 the same as 2 divided by 10? And the answer there is false. So again, the order in which we divide does impact your final answer. So it is really, really important that whenever you are subtracting or dividing, that you do take particular note in terms of the order in which the numbers are. So, and that's a key thing whenever you're doing basic general arithmetic, is just being aware that when you add, the order doesn't matter, but when you divide or when you subtract, the order does matter. Now, the next thing we move on to is ambiguous cases. Now, sometimes a question can be poorly written and following BIDMAS can give you a different answer. So when you have a mixture of adding and subtracting with no brackets, then we tend to work out the calculation reading from left to right. Now, again, this goes against BIDMAS. So again, if we had the calculation of 10 take away 6 plus 2, then reading BIDMAS, because adding comes first, it means that we really should be doing this first. So here we should have 10 minus 8, which equals 2. However, if I was to type this into a calculator and I typed in 10 take away 6 plus 2, then it would simply see adding and subtracting as the same sort of level of power, and it would just read it from left to right. And so it's worth trying on your calculator to see if that is the case. Now, this is a poor question, and the fact that if you did do 10 take away 6 plus 2, your calculator would read this as 6, because it would do 10 take away 6 first plus 2, which would give me 6. I'm just going to write my 6 a little bit better than that. which would give me 6. So this is a pretty poor question. So when you have got a combination of adding, subtracting, there are potentially two different answers. The calculator will give you one, and using BIDMAS would give you another. So it is really, really important that you do take care of reading these questions out. And typically, if you do have a minus and a plus on the same line, then generally you would do it from left to right. Now, this doesn't really apply when it comes to multiplying and dividing. Generally speaking, you would probably get the same answer. However, when it comes to adding, subtracting, and you've got levels of minus and pluses on the same line, you can kind of ignore BIDMAS and just go along the fact of reading it from left to right. So let's have a look at some more questions then. So I'll try and do these in different colours, and I'll try and space them out in terms of working through them. So with question 1, we've got 5 plus 6 times 4. So again, what we want to do is do the brackets first. That becomes 11. And then 11 times 4 gives us a final answer of 44. And then changing colour for number 2, we've got 7 times 12 minus 4. So again, I'm going to do the brackets first. So here I've got 8. And I've got 7 times 8, which gives me the final answer of 56. Move to the next question, question 3. So here I've got bracket 4 plus 10 divided by 2. So I'm going to do the brackets first. So here I've got 14 divided by 2, which then gives me an answer of 7. And you'll find that the more heavily marked questions are the ones that involve more things to do. So with question 4, we've got 24 divided by 11 minus 7. So again, I'm going to do the bracket first. So here I've got 11 take away 7, which is 4, and then 24 divided by 4, which gives me a final answer of 6. And then question 5, I've got 5 plus 8 squared. So I'm going to do the power bit first. So I've got 5 plus 64, and I get a final answer of 69. And then moving on to question 6. So here I've got 8 times 2 squared. So again, I'm going to do the power first. So that becomes 4. And then 8 times 4, which is 32. And then moving down to question 7. So let's just move the screen down. So question 7, I've got 9 plus 3 times 5 squared. So again, I'm going to do the power first. So I've got 9 plus 3 times 25. I'm then going to do the multiplying. So I've got 9 plus 75. And then I've got 9 plus 75, which gives me an answer of 84. And then with question 8, so I've got 4 squared plus 3 plus 2 times 6. So again, I've got a bracket, but I've got a couple of calculations in the bracket, so I need to do the times first. So every time you've got a bracket, you always want to reset your BIDMAS, because you can have brackets within brackets, which we'll move on to in the latter questions. So here I'm going to do the workouts. I've got 4 squared plus, and then I've got 3 plus 12. Then I'm going to complete the brackets. I've got to do it because I've not finished or not removed those. So here I've got 15. Then I'm going to do 4 squared, which is 16, plus 15, which gives me a final answer of 31. Then with question 9, we've got 22 divided by 16 minus 5 in brackets plus 9 squared. So again, I'm going to do the brackets first, in which I get 11. So I've got 22 divided by 11 plus 9 squared. And then I'm going to do the power, which is 81. So I've got this. And then division comes before adding. So I've got to do 22 divided by 11, which is 2. Plus 81 gives me a final answer of 83. With question 10, I've got 9 times bracket 21 minus 19 squared. So again, I'm going to do the brackets first, in which I get 2. So I've got 9 times 2 squared. Then do the power. So it's 9 times 4, which then gives me a final answer of 36. And then moving down to question 11, so here I've got 8 times 3 times 2, or it should be 8 minus 3 rather, in brackets squared plus 4. So again, I'm going to do the brackets, and inside the brackets I've got to do, again, BIDMAS resets. So I've got 8 minus 6 in brackets, squared plus 4, then it becomes 2 squared plus 4, then do the power, so it's 4 plus 4, which gives me a final answer of 8. And then moving on to question 12. So here I've got 3 times 72 take away 37. So if I do the bracket first, I get 35. So I've got 3 times 35, which gives me 70, 105 as my final answer. Then with question 13, I'm slowly running out of space. So 13, I've got 4 squared plus 3 squared, or should I say minus 3 squared squared. So again, doing them with the brackets, I've got 16 minus 9 squared. 16 minus 9 is 7. So I've got 7 squared, which gives me an answer of 49. And if I just scroll down, so with question 14, I've got bracket, bracket, 2 plus 10 squared, close bracket, times 4 divided by 2. Now here we've got bracket within a bracket. So looking at the first bracket, which I'm just going to highlight in red, and inside that I've got this bracket here. So I need to do this first. Now here in this bracket I've got power. So here I'm going to write this as 2 plus 100 times 4 divided by 2. So again, I've got to deal with this bracket here. So that's 102 times 4 divided by 2. So again, then do the bracket. So 4 times 102 is 408. And then I want to divide that by 2, which gives me an answer of 204. And then finally with question 15, we'll do some blue. So here we've got 48 divided by bracket 2 times bracket 6 minus 4 close bracket squared. So first let's do this bracket here, which is 2. So I've got 48 divided by 2 times 2 squared. Then work out this bracket, which is 4. So we get 4 squared. So 48 divided by 4 squared. Then do the 4 squared, which is 16. So 48 divided by 16 gives me a final answer of 4. And there is my final answer. Now, BIDMAS does take a little bit of practice. I strongly recommend that when you're practicing these questions, make sure you've got the answers to hand. And sometimes you might, just while you're practicing, might have to work backwards, but always check to make sure you are getting the questions right. And if you are getting it wrong, always just reevaluate. And are you using BIDMAS, and just go through the process of the checkpoints to make sure that you are.